Alrighty then, it's time for a Jungle Cane game. Let's get this show on the road. And this one, I know I say it, is kind of a doozy too. So, look at the team comp the enemy team has. Now, ain't that such a fucky team comp? It's like I would not have expected that team composition in Champion Select, so I had no way of preparing for it. Then my team, it's also pretty bad, but way less so. I still am very, very worried about my mid lane for obvious reasons. Again, I didn't. I am sure. I figured that AD carry would have been Twisted Fate, but I kind of thought the jungle would probably be Tryndamere or something. But nah, it's Aatrox. So if anything, the enemy's lanes are pretty damn terrible. If anything, their entire team comp cohesion is absolute garbage. What they have to hope for is that somehow my bottom lane feeds, my mid lane feeds, and my top lane feeds, and they get super big and deal all sorts of damage in team fights that them having no utility is just kind of irrelevant. But we know that doesn't happen, so they're kind of screwed, right? Anyways, my Camille keeps fighting the Tryndamere, and for the while she does have the advantage because it's Camille and it's Tryndamere. Tryndamere doesn't do anything until he gets a bit more ranks in his queue or some items. I'm attacking or trying to invade a little bit, just trying to keep a better pace in the Aatrox and harass him a bit just to get some of the soul stacks going. I figured if I got really fed early on, I could go blue cane and destroy people. But seeing the splasher at the beginning of the video, you know that's not the case. I ended up going Rost because Rost, aside on a regular sort of base level, kind of destroys the enemy team altogether. So I just have to get to that point. Now, Camille tried to fight the Tryndamere under his tower because she thought he'd be an easy kill, and she died. Now let's just use this as sort of like a point of contention. It's gonna keep happening now. Sort of like, well, I mean, I did make an allusion to it. My bottom lane gets killed, my Mordekaiser's not that useful, and you can't see team chat, you can only see all chat. But the Mordekaiser is not too happy. He says, you guys are inting my lane. Because, he happened to show up down bottom lane and kill somebody, but whatever. And at this point, you can see that the Camille is putting herself in a bad situation where the Tryndamere just gets to spank her. And she's also asking me for help, so I'm showing up top lane even though, it's a Tryndamere who has an ultimate, so it would be pretty difficult to kill. Now, unfortunately for us, Aatrox also shows up, and even though I dodge it with my ultimate, and I get really greedy to try to kill the Tryndamere, I actually don't hit him. That flash was just stupid. So, we give 2 kills to the enemy jungler and a top lane. That's... oh boy. Especially me, at this point I'm getting really triggered. I'm getting tilted because I really do not like how when teams fight really early over a single kill. But essentially, the Mordekaiser, he's just kind of farming and pushing all day and getting harassed every now and then, and not really able to do anything, which allows the enemy team to... I mean, it allows the other lanes to just kind of be harassed and controlled. The Zed gets to roam a bit, and honestly, at this point, the Zed just kind of can destroy the Mordekaiser, who's constantly pushing in a really awkward way. And thankfully, I was there to get a revenge kill and get enough, a lot of souls, essentially. My main goal was to evolve as quickly as possible and do things. And then now as Rost, with the whole lifesteal shenanigans I can pull off, I figured I could possibly survive certain situations. Anyways, Camille quickly learns that it's a goddamn Tryndamere with Conquerors, and she gets absolutely obliterated. Way before I could even show up to try to help her, but at this point, you can tell what's going on with the top lane, 0-4 and 0. And yes, I really do wish you could see chat because it's very volatile. Anyways, like I said, Mordekaiser at this point is just food for mid lane. My bottom lane is starting to sort of roam and abandon it because they somehow lost to his Twisted Fate and Lissandra in terms of control. I mean, their farm is pretty good, no doubt about that, but they seemingly get harassed and spanked every now and then. I pick a fight with Tryndamere because even though he's higher level than me, my lifesteal shenanigans and being close to the tower and me being able to just sort of retreat and just constantly poke him down means I'll probably be able to take him out or at least force him back. And in a weird sheer fight, I use my ultimate on top of him and then just use my E just to make him so he has to chase me a little bit for my cooldowns to come back entirely, and then I managed to actually kill him. If he had, he could have easily just walked away from that, but he was really greedy for the kill, and I was able to take advantage of that. And then, I too, you could say I underestimated the amount of damage Zed would do, because he just absolutely obliterates me, but he is 6-2, or 5-2 when he killed me. And then Mordekaiser, I didn't show that, just kind of went bottom lane to try to gank somehow as a Mordekaiser and died. You would think that he would buy something other than what he purchased right now, considering he's being spanked in the lane, but whatever. My top lane has basically been, absolutely reamed, and it's constantly forcing me to go top lane. Essentially, one of my lanes was constantly abandoned throughout the entire game, bottom lane. I really couldn't help them out because mid lane and top lane required a lot of at least help. Well, top lane required just direct help, and mid lane needed some presence just to make sure he didn't completely die, or die without our revenge kill somewhere down the line. But I'm very strong, at least I would think so. So I could deal with most of the enemy team because, again, like I said, Ross is pretty good against their lineup. Their front line is pretty squishy, and they're all gonna be forced to get close to me. So I'm just gonna life steal their stuff or passive heal or whatever you want to call it. So we're able to get a double kill from there, and then we catch up to the Aatrox and are able to finish him off too. So that's a pretty good turnaround. Surprisingly, or like at least not surprisingly, but unfortunately, the Mordekaiser actually does get some kills. Here, I actually missed one of my abilities because I wanted to do the same thing as before and harass him a bit. And once he got on top of me and started destroying me, I figured I had to turn around and fight, and which was kind of a lost cause without my ultimate to sort of channel through his ultimate and avoid getting absolutely killed. We do get a dragon, which is pretty nice. But unfortunately, it just sort of seems that to be fair, it seems both teams' cohesion is just kind of non-existent. Mine is honestly working out with the Leona and the Ashe, who are extremely desperate to do something in this game because it's just kind of getting they were forced out of their lane and sort of reamed everywhere else by the constant ganks and harassment. So, but the Mordekaiser and the Camille are both pretty bitter to the point where, I guess, small foreshadow because it's about to happen soon. The Camille feeds a few kills on purpose just because she's mad. But 12 to 16, it's not so bad. It's mostly just where the kill allocation is, where a lot of it's on me and the Ashe, and then for some reason the Mordekaiser who kind of cheaped out some of the kills against the Ashe. But like I said very early on, the enemy team composition is absolute hot garbage. Hell, it would be so garbage that even if they put their characters in better lanes, it really wouldn't make much of a difference. Because they really don't have much utility. They don't really have any actual initiation. Their crowd control is extremely unreliable, aside from this support Lissandra putting himself in extreme harm's way. Without items, that's really risky. And Twisted Fate's gold card. They are extremely immobile outside of hard commitment mobility. A dash that just kind of doesn't let them, escape or something right after. So, yeah, and their fighting is all over the place. Some of it wants to be sustained fighting, some of it wants to be pure burst and in and out. So their team has no cohesion. So once team fights start happening, hopefully you notice how when team fights started happening, the progression how it progressively got worse and worse for them. Like this one right here, it was not a complete team fight, or not everybody was there available, and they do have some high threats. But now that all our utility, our crowd control, our team composition, potential, for team fights, is bearing in on them, they really just can't do anything. They are like the definition of individual players in a team, rather than a team utilizing the individual player's strengths here. So there's like that. I don't know if you guys have ever watched that Game of Thrones, but there was one of my favorite comparisons from or analogies or metaphors or whatever you want to call it from Game of Thrones was what's bigger, 1 or 5, and the female character Cersei, the queen, or at that point the regent, I guess. Or the queen, and then became the queen regent. Right, I'm sorry, I can't remember Game of Thrones all of a sudden. She said, 5, but the king, Baratheon, said, no, 1, and he closed his fist, meaning, 1 united kingdom is better than 5 separate kingdoms. And in this case, this is just sort of it. Although you can see that once the team split up and did their own things, we just kind of got really super spanked. Because the enemy team is still individually stronger than us. Especially because our team comp is sort of our strength is in our team comp. So that's also another lesson there. It's like you could be turning things around, but don't let your team fight. Don't let your gains or your flourish in your team fight make you think that you're strong individually and you can get away with a lot of other shenanigans. So yeah. Like I said, at this point, once we're together, like even their most scariest, most threatening characters can't do very much. So yay. we only really get one kill from there because it was really difficult to kill them without our teammates. But you saw that even if we're just in a team of three, we were able to hold them off and just survive that whole array from them. So it's just a slow crawl to the victory line now. Although I really hate the fact that this Mordekaiser is trying to do Baron. He is telling us or forcing us to try to do it, but I felt super unsafe to do so because we would basically lose our only real advantage we have here in our team fighting. If we're fighting the Baron and putting ourselves in a very, very obvious spot, the enemy team can all individually decide how to approach that and then just do easy pickings essentially. One of our other main advantages here was that we mostly, in team fights, when both teams are about to collide, they don't have many tools to prepare for us, so any weird thing we do, any surprise against them, just will kind of succeed. We survived, or we, made it out there. Also, the Mordekaiser did something to Baron for some fucking reason. We mostly made it out there because I put myself in a position to try to force the fight. I mean, it led to me being very casually killed, although it also caused Zed to die, and then to force the 4v4 to occur. Essentially, I'm trying to make damn sure we do not lose our only actual strength, which the Mordekaiser seems to be very adamant, and I wish you could see chat because of how angry he is. But still, though. 26-26 is pretty good considering how much of a disastrous start we had. He flashes for the dragon, but I don't feel that was necessarily the best play because he puts himself in a really bad position. But fortunately for him, after he dies, the rest of the team is able to collapse and start doing some shenanigans. Zed goes in, but at this point, his target has a guardian angel, so it's not the biggest deal, and he gets destroyed too. So I get to harass and destroy the Twisted Fate for a bit. He gets to scatter off, and he even has to use his ultimate to survive. Honestly, they might have had a better chance if Twisted Fate had gone AP, even though he was bottom lane. But whatever, right? It's just their team comp was just hot trash, anyways. So we're in the winner's seat here, despite the fact that very early on we were pushed into our own, little fortress of solitude. Again, once team fight happened, once the mid-game build started showing face, we stomped them. Same situation here, because again, I cannot trust us doing Baron with how weak our team comp is against being jumped. So I ended up having to force that fight, and we actually do get two people. And then, kind of hilariously here, Mordekaiser's ultimate is going to be able to cast it on the Tryndamere. Cast it on the Tryndamere, he gets kited everywhere because he's super desperate to kill his wife, and then he gets killed. So my team kills 3 of theirs, and then using the Tryndamere Ghost, he absolutely slaughters the Baron. Though even more hilariously, the Aatrox shows up instead of trying to go over the wall, and Mordekaiser sends the Tryndamere Ghost at him, and he starts getting destroyed by it. I mean, he ends up having to get killed by the Mordekaiser turning around, but Tryndamere does a lot of damage. And then Tryndamere catches the Twisted Fate. It just cleaves him in two. It's like the ghost is broken. It's about one of Mordekaiser's best and a few bonuses or strengths is that if you manage to get your ultimate on a carry, that carry will carry your game for you. So we catch Tryndamere again. He does quite a bit of damage, but through the volley of crowd control and everything, we control him, keeping our Ashe alive. And then we just turn around and start destroying the rest of the enemy team, because again, at this point they just basically lost. Again, a huge ass lesson in having such a garbage team composition and how badly it hurts you. Like, without our carry, we just still annihilate them, and we got away with a lot of bad positioning on that and just sort of mowing them down. And none of us died. I think maybe one died and then respawned, but I'm not gonna check. But yeah. Isn't that such a disgusting turnaround? But it may seem disgusting, but it was kind of expected. It was frustrating, though, because, again, I wish you could see the chat and how toxic it was, but I knew as long as we kept it together and didn't try to go for Baron, pointlessly, we would have just won. Hooray. And if you liked this video, remember to give it a like. And if you aren't subscribed, make sure to subscribe. And if you are subscribed, make sure to hit the little bell up there somewhere so you actually get notifications to my videos, because YouTube and stuff.